He only disappears on Thursdays. Part 5. Final.
We have to disappear.
The sentence hung between us while morning slowly turned the apartment gray. Disappear, not move, not leave town. Disappear. My daughter slept against my shoulder, exhausted from crying while my entire brain tried to process the fact that my life no longer belonged to normal reality. Outside, people were probably buying coffee, walking dogs, complaining about traffic, and I stood barefoot in my kitchen, listening to a man with two identities tell me we needed to vanish. How long do we have? My own voice barely sounded like mine anymore. He looked toward the window automatically before answering, always checking, always listening. God, how long had he lived like this internally? Finally,
Not long.
not long. My stomach twisted violently. What does that even mean? Long silence, then
It means they stopped warning me.
I physically sat down because my legs suddenly felt weak. The apartment looked different now, not home, not safety, a temporary illusion. Every object suddenly felt fragile. The couch where we watched movies, our daughter's toys scattered near the television, tiny pink shoes near the hallway. All of it looked temporary now, like we had already lost it emotionally before actually leaving. He moved quickly after that. Duffel bags, cash, passports, phones, different phones, God, different phones. The deeper I looked into his life now, the more hidden compartments I kept discovering. And each new discovery hurt differently, because every secret meant another year he survived beside me while carrying an entire invisible world alone. How many names do you have? He froze for half a second, then quietly.
Too many.
That answer haunted me instantly, because somewhere along the way, he stopped being one person emotionally. Alexander, Daniel. Who else? How many versions of himself had he built just to stay alive? And suddenly I wondered something horrifying. Did he even know anymore which version was real? By noon, we were driving north. No destination explained. No plan fully shared. My daughter asleep in the back seat, clutching her stuffed rabbit, while my whole nervous system stayed trapped between fear and disbelief. Rain hit the windshield softly. He drove differently now, not relaxed, not casual. Watching mirrors constantly, changing lanes unpredictably, never staying beside the same car too long. And suddenly, every road trip from the last 6 years replayed differently inside my head. He had always driven like this. I just never noticed. At one gas station, he physically pulled me back before I walked toward the restroom alone. Too fast, too instinctive.
Not by yourself.
The sharpness in his voice made me freeze instantly. Then he softened immediately. God, that constant switch between gentleness and survival. It was like living beside two nervous systems, trapped inside one body. That night we stopped at a motel outside a tiny town I didn't recognize. One floor, flickering neon sign. The kind of place people forget exists. He checked the parking lot 3 times before letting us inside. My daughter thought it was an adventure. That part nearly killed me emotionally. She laughed, jumping on the bed, while I silently wondered if someone would eventually kick down the door. Motherhood changes fear permanently. You stop worrying about yourself first. After she fell asleep, I finally broke. I can't do this anymore. My voice cracked apart instantly. I don't even know what's real anymore. He stood near the window, staring through the curtain, watching outside constantly. Then quietly,
You're real.
God. That answer hurt more than anything else he said, because somehow inside all this darkness, he truly loved us. I started crying harder suddenly, months of tension exploding at once. You should have left us alone. You should have never stayed silent. Then finally,
I tried.
I looked up sharply. What? His face stayed turned toward the parking lot.
The first month after I met you, I disappeared for almost 3 weeks.
My brain struggled to remember. Then suddenly I did. He stopped answering texts. No explanation. Then came back looking exhausted. At the time, I thought another woman. God. Everything had always looked different from the truth. Quietly, he continued.
I knew what my life was. I knew you deserved better.
My chest tightened painfully. Then why come back? Long silence. Then finally he looked at me fully. Real emotion there. Raw, unprotected.
Because for the first time in my life, I met someone who made me want to become human again.
That sentence destroyed me completely because broken people say beautiful things sometimes, and that's what makes them dangerous emotionally. At 2:17 a.m., his phone buzzed again. One message. His entire face changed instantly while reading it. Cold, sharp, focused. Then he grabbed the second phone from his bag and smashed it against the motel sink without hesitation. My blood froze instantly. What happened? No answer. Only
Get the baby dressed.
panic flooded me immediately. Alexander, then finally,
They found the motel.
everything inside me went silent, not screaming panic. Worse, shock, pure shock. 10 minutes later, we were back on the road, dark highway, rain. My daughter, confused and half asleep, asking,
Where are we going?
I kept smiling through tears. Adventure, baby. That lie almost made me physically sick. Then suddenly, headlights appeared behind us. Far back at first, then closer. Staying exactly behind us through every turn. My breathing stopped instantly. He noticed too. Of course he did. Hands tightening slightly on the steering wheel. Then quietly,
Don't panic.
people always say that right before something terrible happens. The headlights stayed behind us for 23 miles. I counted every exit, every lane change, still there. Then finally,
Hold her.
my whole body went cold. What? His voice sharpened instantly.
Now.
I grabbed my daughter tightly just as he turned suddenly off the highway onto a narrow industrial road. The car behind us followed immediately. Panic exploded through my bloodstream. No, 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 no. This was real, actually real. The road ended near abandoned shipping buildings. Rain hammered against the windshield violently now. The other car stopped 20 feet behind us, headlights glowing through darkness. My daughter started crying immediately, sensing terror everywhere. And suddenly I realized this might be the last moment of my life. He turned toward me. God, his face, calm, too calm. The calmness of somebody who accepted danger years ago already. Then he touched my cheek softly, one hand shaking slightly for the first time since I met him.
Listen carefully.
Tears filled my eyes instantly. No, please no.
If something happens, you take her and run toward the train tracks.
I physically grabbed his jacket. No, but he kept speaking, voice low, controlled.
There's money inside her rabbit.
My stomach dropped violently. The rabbit, oh my God, even that was prepared. How long had he planned for disaster? Then suddenly he whispered.
I'm sorry I loved you enough to stay.
That sentence shattered me completely because for the first time I understood the real tragedy. The problem was never that he didn't love us. The problem was that he loved us while belonging to a world capable of destroying everything near him. The car doors behind us opened. 3 men stepped into the rain slowly, dark clothing, one umbrella, no rushing. That somehow made it more terrifying, like they already knew how this would end. Then something happened I never expected. Alexander started laughing quietly, actually laughing, not insanity, recognition.
Of course.
He whispered. My breathing shook violently. What? He stared through the windshield, then quietly.
They didn't come to kill me.
The umbrella lowered slightly, and suddenly I saw a woman step out behind them. Tall, dark coat, blonde hair, soaked from rain. My entire body froze instantly because she looked almost exactly like our daughter would look grown up. Alexander stopped breathing, actually stopped, then whispered one word.
Anya.
The woman stared at him across the rain with tears already running down her face. And suddenly, reality twisted again. Not criminals, not execution, something worse. Paused. My brain struggled to process anything while she walked closer, slowly. Then, finally, she spoke. Russian accent, thick through the storm.
You disappeared.
Alexander looked like someone ripped his soul open publicly, and suddenly I understood something impossible. He knew her deeply. I stared between them while panic and confusion destroyed my ability to think clearly. Then the woman looked toward me, toward my daughter, and suddenly whispered,
You have another family now.
family. My blood turned ice cold. No, 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 no. Not this too. Please, God, not this too. I turned toward him, shaking violently. Who is she? He closed his eyes briefly, and suddenly I knew before he answered. That terrible female intuition again, always arriving before truth fully speaks. Then quietly,
My wife.
everything inside me collapsed, not loudly, silently, completely. Rain hammered around us while my brain physically stopped understanding reality. Wife, wife, wife. 6 years, a child, a whole life together, and somewhere in another country, another woman existed carrying the ghost of the same man. I started laughing suddenly, actually laughing, not because anything was funny, because shock sometimes breaks the nervous system so badly emotions stop behaving correctly. You have a wife? He looked destroyed, not defensive, destroyed.
I thought she was dead.
Dead, of course. Of course, the story somehow became even more impossible. Anya stepped closer slowly through the rain, then finally looked directly at me. And God, the sadness in her face, not jealousy, not rage, recognition, like she understood me immediately, woman to woman, victim to victim. Quietly, she said,
He loved you for real.
that sentence almost broke me harder than the lies, because somehow hearing it from her made it true. Then the final truth came out piece by piece. Years earlier, when Alexander tried escaping his old life, Anya disappeared during the violence surrounding those men. He believed she was murdered, spent years searching, eventually fled the country completely after learning she was supposedly dead. Then met me, built another life, another family, trying desperately to become another person emotionally. But Anya survived, not only survived, she spent years searching for him too. And suddenly I realized the horrifying truth. Nobody here was lying intentionally anymore. We were all standing inside the wreckage of survival. My daughter stirred sleepily against me, then looked toward Alexander, crying softly.
Daddy.
That word destroyed everyone simultaneously. I watched his face completely collapse emotionally, because suddenly all his identities crashed into each other at once. Husband, father, survivor, liar, protector, broken man, all of it standing together inside rain and darkness. Then Anya whispered the sentence none of us expected.
They're coming for all of us now.
Silence, actual silence. My blood turned cold instantly. What? One of the men handed Alexander a phone silently. Video playing already. Alexander watched for 3 seconds before his entire face drained white. Then he handed it to me slowly. My hands shook violently. Security, camera, footage. Our apartment building. Earlier that morning, men entering, searching, and suddenly the screen froze on one horrifying image, our daughter's bedroom door. I couldn't breathe, actually couldn't breathe. Then the video ended with one final message across the screen.
No more running.